Welcome to the PAC Show, the show that brings you all the highlights, the lowlights, the reviews, the previews, the news, and the interviews from rugby here in Australia and around the world.
We lost every game.
Always need to be heard, these bastards.
What? Punchos! What is happening? Samu Krebe! Samu, how you doing, brother? Hey! What is happening?
In the car.
Yes, the boys. Thank you, everyone.
With the best of friends.
Hilarious. Yeah, one I won't remember. I will remember.
Yeah, we got him!
Can't be good at it. That's the one thing I'll leave you with.
Yeah, woohoo! Welcome to the PAC Rugby Show, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Jay Moore. I'm very, very excited for tonight's show. I'm feeling good, feeling great, and I'm sure you are too. Tonight, we don't have a full contingent. In fact, we're down a couple of bodies, to be honest. That said, the bodies we've got in, well, one of them's really big and the other one's just very sexy. We've got Dallin Murphy on the starters bench. And on the starters bench for his first time ever, Big Fat Das!
No, there's a definite line here, mate. This is still Battler's bench. He's still a starter, right?
And no one on the Battlers bench tonight, Big Fat Das. So, obviously, you've stepped up. And we saw last week Freens wasn't in the mix. It comes with a heavy heart to say this, but Freeney, the kill switch himself, your pet corgi, has had to step down just due to family commitments and work commitments and so on. Just was struggling to find the time. So, unfortunately, it's just going to be you riding Pine on the Battlers bench for a little bit solo.
Do I get the couch back again, or how long is this going to happen for? Because
only 1 week, because very excited to announce that Quirky will be joining us as of next week as well. So it's very exciting times. But Dallin, you're back and you're sitting next to Big Fat Das. How you feeling?
And I reckon say good riddance to Freens. He was dragging you down, I reckon.
kill switch.
The kill switch.
Down straight into it with some viperness. Yeah, I love it.
He'll be missed.
He will, man. Thanks for the memes, Freens. It's been absolutely awesome. But he's going to be focusing on the PAC podcast, so be sure to tune into that because, oh man, he goes hammer and tong in that, man, and it is full on. But tonight we've got an absolutely massive show, and look, we're going to get straight into it. Our guest this evening, you might know him as a former Hurricanes player, London Irish representative. You might even know him as the assistant coach of the Canterbury Crusaders. But more than anything, you probably know him as the host of the What a Lad podcast. It's James Marshall. James, how are you, brother?
Hey, good, mate. Thanks for having me on.
No, it's an absolute privilege. Hell yeah,
podcast
man.
in Australasia. Mate, you guys are wrong.
We paid him for that one. Thank you very much, James. Appreciate it. You're off to an absolute flyer. But, mate, What a Lad podcast, absolutely heaving at the moment. You've had some absolute red-hot guests. I mean, it's going from strength to strength, isn't it?
Mate, it's actually really hard for me at the moment because obviously the coaching gig's taking up so much of my time. So I've just been able to cram some in the bye week, a couple on the odd day off. But, my time that I've been putting into them's dropped significantly. But thankfully, some of the guests I've had on have been unreal. So it's helped me still probably continue that sort of growth of the podcast game, which, as we all know, is a pretty tough one.
Yeah, bloody oath, mate. We do this every bloody week, and at least you're a rugby coach. I'm like operating a crane or digging a hole. So yeah, it's a bit easier for you. But mate, we'll get to a bit more.
And you've got that mo at the moment.
What do you think of my mussy, James? I've recently shaved it in for having a beard for 15 years. It's pretty hardy, eh?
Yuck.
I do like it. I think it suits you. I think it suits your face.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Man, it's pretty full on. My wife said you have so many chins and no chin all at once. It's pretty intense, but lucky I'm married. Well, mate,
you look like a cartoon character.
Yeah. I look like Dr. Robotnik from Sonic the Hedgehog. See?
Oh, yeah, that's who he is. I knew I'd seen him somewhere.
Let's rock it without the headphones for the remainder of the show, eh? I mean, the hat. Get rid of that. All right, James, as I said, we're going to get into the What a Lad podcast a little bit later on, but while we've got you, mate, you've got a very unique perspective in regards to what you can give in a rugby sense. You had a career that went all through NPC, through the NPC system to the Canes, over to Europe, back again. Now you're coaching at the most successful Super Rugby club in history underneath one of the most decorated coaches, you'd have to say, the game has ever seen in Razor Robertson. So I really want to pick your brain in regards to a few things and a few things that could probably link up in particular with Aussie rugby. And to start things off, I wanted to ask about the third tier system you guys have in New Zealand. It's 100 plus years old. It is absolutely thriving. It goes absolutely Godzilla from strength to strength every single year, even in a professional era. And we no longer have a third tier competition with the NRC having been scrapped here in Australia. So I just wanted to get your perspective as a player and now as a coach, the benefits of that in regards to what it does for New Zealand rugby and what it could do for Australian rugby. And then also in return, what can we do to try and actually bring something like that into Aussie rugby, in your opinion?
Yeah, mate, it's a great question. And there's no doubt that it's a massive stepping stone for guys. Like we're calling on guys out of there all the time. At super level, some guys haven't even played super, and they're straight in, or even at that third tier level. But I don't know if it's thriving financially. I guess that's the biggest challenge. Even you probably look at our competition and think it is thriving, but financially it's not. I think it is still struggling to sort of hold its own there. But in terms of an investment, what you get out of these young players, giving them a chance to play professional footy or semi-professional footy and see what they've got, whether they're good enough to play at that high level as well. It's a perfect stepping stone for some of these guys. So for Australia, if you can afford it, if you can do it, 100%, it's massive to the game. But like I said, it's struggling, and I don't really know where it's going to end up here in New Zealand. Like, it's hard to really know, but hopefully we can hold strong with it and keep it going there.
James, you've got obviously a unique skill set in regards to your professional coach, professional player. We as Australians still struggle, you know what I mean? We get the odd win here and there against the Kiwis, but there's a fair bit of disparity still there. From your perspective, how do you think Australia can bridge that gap to kind of meet you guys, you know what I mean, five teams kind of toe-to-toe?
Yeah, honestly, I don't really know. I do think it is a depth issue, and that obviously probably comes back to that you don't have that third-tier competition where these guys can get that exposure. They're going pretty much straight into super level, and you do notice it when the Aussie teams aren't at full strength. They probably don't have the same depth that the New Zealand teams have. They're calling on a lot of Kiwis, especially like you look at the teams like the Force. They've got sort of 4 or 5 guys who are straight from the third tier over here. So I think they've got to do that. But like I said, I think it's just the depth of the players that you've got there at the moment. Obviously, you've got to compete with a fair few other codes as well over there.
Oh, bloody oath. It's tough. But, well, do you see any value then potentially in the idea of like a homogenous competition that is Super Rugby? So at the moment, obviously, it's, you got New Zealand, you got Australia, then within that you've got their respective unions. Do you think there's a way of maybe centralising, not just within the nations themselves, but as an entire competition that, potentially we could have players represent, say, the Queensland Reds, but be eligible to play for the All Blacks and vice versa, or something of that nature?
Yeah, honestly, I think we need to get there probably sooner rather than later, because I think that'll be the quickest way to even up the competition. I get why they don't want players to be able to be eligible for the All Blacks and play overseas, because it's just going to completely open up the floodgates here. They're already pretty heavily open just with the cash that's being thrown around in Japan. But if you opened it up fully, New Zealand rugby would really suffer. But I think that's a great next step. Give guys a chance to go live in Australia or play for a team over in Australia, and really strengthen both sides, really. And Aussies would be able to come over here and I guess pick up some ideas from here and take them back. So I think it'd be a great step.
Mate, with that, there are more and more players from Australia and currently New Zealand that are going overseas to ply their trade over there. You did that as well, and then you came back. What do you feel? Do you see great value in that, or what do you feel could be more of a thing to entice players to come back home and play in Australia or New Zealand?
Yeah, it's a good question. I look at my career and I've got no regrets about going overseas at all. I learned so much. I got to see parts of the world I wouldn't have got to see if I stayed here, and got to experience some awesome experiences and meet different people. So, and obviously, especially in Japan, you obviously top yourself up a little bit and set yourself up for life after footy, which is obviously pretty important as well. So, I think it's hard. It's going to be hard, and only going to get harder to keep the guys here. Money, even the lifestyle and the training over in Japan. It's a pretty sweet gig for what you're getting paid over there. Feels like there's not as much pressure. I know a lot of guys, especially who are playing at that top level, they're under it every week. You know, like if they have a bad game, just mentally how draining that can be. Just not for you, but for everyone in your life, I guess, because everyone bloody, they're riding behind it and they're all passionate fans, but can take its toll mentally. So a lot of these guys love it when they get over there and can't read the media, and they can just go out there, play footy, pretty loose training hours, and I think the season's about 12 games a year, so
that'll do. That's not a bad one. Especially when the hammies are getting tighter and tighter closer to retirement.
I'm selling it the wrong way. I should be trying to...
Yeah, what are you doing, man?
Which is bad. How was you played a season and a half or maybe 2 seasons over in Italy for Aironi? Is that right? And then did they actually go bankrupt the year you left or the year after?
Yeah, I think it was a year after I left.
Because you left,
they
then it all fell apart.
Yeah, that's it. No, I was only a wee kid over there. I only went over for a 6-month injury replacement gig. So that was just because I missed out on Super here in New Zealand, and I didn't have really anything else. It was either that or play club footy. So I thought, why not?
The Italian summer,
life in Italy. Yeah. Oh, mate, absolutely loved it. It was an unreal experience.
Hell yeah. You actually said before you had no regrets. I'm pretty sure you went to London Irish in 2016. Is that when the Canes won their first premiership, was it?
I won the premiership and then I left
after that. Yeah, okay. All right, no regrets. Perfect. No, I was just trying to put 2 and 2 together.
There was one thing. Once we won that competition, I did have a regret of signing to London Irish, and I did actually ring up their CEO and tell him that I'm not coming because the Canes had, after we'd won it, told me they'd match the London Irish contract and they were really keen for me to stay. And obviously I was playing more than I thought I ever would. So then I sort of tried to get out of it last minute, but he basically just said, "You no chance of pulling out, or else
you're a premiership winner."
Lawyers and all sorts. So,
I don't.
Yeah, so I said I'll see you Monday, and on the flight I was.
Yeah, sounds like the Canes don't know how contracts work. Anyway, just touching on something we've seen over the last couple of weeks. We had Richie Mo'unga a couple of weeks ago, and then Maurice Longbottom just last week from the Aussie Sevens, and both of them received, for lack of a better term, some pretty grim news when they were younger in regards to their career. Richie not making secondary schools, and he talked about bawling his eyes out, thinking his career's over. Maurice Longbottom was a junior Rabbitoh, but was told he was too small. Both have gone on to very illustrious careers. And you, to a similar extent, sort of had a similar trajectory in regards to didn't make the 17s, 19s, or the New Zealand 20s. And just harking back to what they were saying in regards to that, how do you receive news like that? How do you, pour your life and your heart and soul into, playing footy, and then you don't make these rep teams? How do you manage that expectation of potentially not being able to fulfill this dream of playing Super Rugby, then actually going on and kicking goals in that respective field?
To be honest, I was probably a little bit different to those guys. Like, I was sort of I was never as gifted as them. I was a battler, and although I wanted to play professional rugby, I never really thought I would be able to. I always thought it was a pretty far-fetched goal. And to even made the 20s camp, which I was stoked to even be able to be trialing in there. So that was a real sort of confidence boost for me. And then I never really expected to make the team. We had like Israel Dag at fullback and Dan Kirkpatrick, who was a gun back then as well. So I didn't really expect to make the team. I gave it everything to make it, but I was just sort of stoked to be there, and that's sort of gave me the confidence that I wasn't too far off. Being a skinny little white kid from Nelson, where rugby wasn't a huge pathway back then, that sort of gave me a little bit of confidence that I wasn't too far off, and I could potentially make a career out of it.
And this week, James, is obviously cultural round in Super Rugby. I wanted to get your thoughts on how Australia and New Zealand can better harness, the Indigenous talent kind of coming through. Obviously, it's different in both countries, but how do you think we can, be better from your perspective?
I don't really know how it works over there, to be honest, but give me an insight.
Well, mate, to be honest, let's put it in perspective. Maurice Longbottom, he's actually Indigenous, and we asked him about it last week, and he actually just said, put it very bluntly, he could have very easily gone down the wrong path, the people he was hanging out with, and he just said to be an Indigenous role model is huge to him. Even if it's just he might be able to buy some footy boots with someone, drive him to training, take him to training, whatever it may be, he wants to be able to play that role model. And when you look at I guess the difference between Australia and New Zealand, you guys have a New Zealand Māori side with a huge cultural tradition. You guys have a haka that you perform before every game. It's very entrenched there. We've only just started doing a welcome to country in the last sort of 12 months. We've started singing in an Indigenous language, our national anthem, and everybody buys in, everybody loves it, but there has been a strong disconnect to the extent that I think there's only been 14 Indigenous Wallabies in our 100 plus years of playing history. So it is very different. New Zealand, you guys really harness it, and you do actually celebrate it a lot. We are starting to do so on a greater extent now, but I think at the end of the day, we can both agree that being able to harness some of that talent and promote it and really get it in the game is going to be hugely beneficial.
Oh, massively. And I speak to a lot of young Māori boys all the time on the podcast who speak about their upbringing and sort of how they had nothing and sort of how rugby got them out of the streets and sort of gave them a pathway to stay out of trouble and sort of saved their life, really. And when you hear stories like that, you realise that it is sort of more than a game, and getting these guys into sport is so important for these guys who don't have much else in their life, and how it can be so helpful for them. So massively, the more people we can get into rugby or any sport, really, the better, because when you hear stories like that, you realise what it actually means to some of these people.
Mate, having you're officially the ass coach. I think that's what we put it. Well,
yeah, sorry about that one, James. I set you up with that.
Being the assistant coach, which I found out that's actually what your role is. With Razor Robertson, mate. What do you think makes Razor Robertson such a phenomenal coach? Would it have anything to do with his 3 NPC titles, his 6 Super Rugby titles, or his Under-20 World Cup? Would that have anything to do with
it? Mate, he's got some record, eh? Like, geez, he has done it well, and no doubt he deserves that All Black gig for next season. And awesome to see the coaching group he's put together there, which was announced today, which is an unreal team. I think it's probably 5 of the best coaches I've ever worked with all in one group. So I think really good hands the All Blacks are going to be in over the next few years, which is exciting. But I'm going away from your question, which was Razor Robinson. What's he like, mate? He is a character. Obviously, you see that side of him. What I was sort of surprised about was he doesn't do a huge amount of the rugby side of things. He is massive on the connection of the group, from the board all the way down to the players, the theming of the weeks. He oversees all the rugby stuff, but he sort of, I guess he backs his coaching team which he selects, and I think that's why you look at his All Black team. He's chosen 5 of the best possible. So, he does the really big picture well, and connects groups like I've never seen, and understands what players need during the week, whether it is an extra training or more time off. I think we train probably less hours than any other team in Super Rugby, and that's all driven by him. Like, he's all about making everything efficient, really, like as efficient as possible. So puts a lot of pressure on us as coaches to make sure we can cover everything in the 15 minutes that we get, but it's all for the good cause of the team.
Do you ever walk to the change room and he's practicing his spinning moves, his turtle spinning, and there it is. Oh, he's got it. That was a new one. That's Fortnite.
Check him out.
Yeah, he's good. I've never actually seen him in the flesh do it.
Yeah.
A full performance. Like that. When we're in our team song at the end of games, you can see he's just itching to
ready to
get down.
I love it.
He's moving. He loves it. Yeah.
Well, touching on that, how do you think he's going to approach the AB's role? It's we've seen very accomplished coaches move into higher honours in the past, and it can sometimes be a poison chalice because you've got such a huge record that obviously everybody's anticipating Razor's going to go in and replicate what he's done all the way from being a player with the Satyrs all the way through to the coaching the Satyrs and everything in between. How do you think he's going to approach that to try and manage the expectations of, I guess, his history as a coach, but then also come into, probably the most well-known sporting team, one of the most well-known sporting teams historically in the world, and try to really put his fingerprint on it?
Yeah, I don't know too much of the details of how it all works, but no doubt he's going to thrive on the biggest stage. He's like, people love him. You go to the airport with him, you're walking next to him, and he has to stop for about 500 photos before he gets to the gate. Like, everyone loves the guy. So he's going to, and he loves it too. He's going to enjoy, I think, being the face of the All Blacks, and he'll be ready for any sort of results or whatever's thrown at him. But like I said, I think he's put in the perfect coaching team, and I think he's the perfect man for the job post the World Cup.
You had a terrific career, even though you're very understated about it. You got to play overseas, you got to play in New Zealand, and then finally in Japan there as well. You've moved into the media and some coaching now. I've got a couple of questions around it. One is, did you ever expect to end up where you have? You know what I mean? After the footy, obviously that's one segment of your life, and now you're doing the coaching and then the media. Did you ever expect to end up here?
To be honest, I always felt like I was probably more of a coach than a player, even when I was playing. Like, just the way I played, I was never big, fast or strong, or wasn't very skillful, but I felt like I understood the game really well, and that's sort of what helped me 10. At that higher level. Like, feeding in the communication or just my decision making was probably what made me get as far as I did. So I always sort of felt like I was a bit of a coach out on the field and through the weeks. But so I did always think I was going to do that. But then after moving, 30 times throughout my career with my wife and then 3 kids, everything got harder and harder. And I then did promise my wife I'd never move again. So once we settled in Nelson, coaching, I was only going to coach if it was in Nelson. So obviously that's where Tasman Marco came up. Yeah. So I started coaching there, and then out of nowhere, Big Razor gives me the call and really tested this promise to the wife whether I'd do it or not. So now we're here. So she's forgiven me, I think.
And then what about the media side? Obviously, you got a really successful podcast. You're doing a terrific job in that space. Is this something that you always wanted to do?
When I was coming to the end of my career, so I had hip surgery, which I had a sort of 12-month rehab, and I knew I was coming to the end. I didn't think I'd play again, even though there was a little bit of hope. But I had to sort of decide or think about some things I wanted to do. Obviously, coaching was one, but then I didn't want to keep moving around, so it wasn't really the dream. And I was trying to look at other opportunities. Another one was podcasting. Just randomly had a crack at that and gave myself a goal of 7 episodes to see if I enjoyed it or not, or how it went, see if it was for me. I really enjoyed it, loved it from the start, and yeah, still going there. And the other one was sort of like in the academy space. So I worked at Nelson College for a couple of years up there in the rugby program there, and really enjoyed that. But I knew one of them, if I did 3 things, one of them would take off and take me to somewhere, and managing to still be doing 2, which is, I don't know, probably a dream scenario for me, coaching the Crusaders and doing a podcast.
Yeah, pretty.
Oh yeah, I decided to give it a shot, and I was like, I might coach in Nelson, I might do a podcast, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, cool, thanks, man. Yeah.
You can coach the Crusaders and go, well, will this affect my podcast career? If I can fit
Actually,
it in.
I'll do both.
Yeah. Mate, you kind of touched on it before, but what made you actually land on, hey, I think I might want to do a podcast? Were you big into listening to them, or you thought you'd be good at it, and how awkward was it trying to ask your mates, hey, I'm kind of trying to do this thing, like just trying to get it started.
That. We do that for the show, Big Fat Dash.
To do it in the basement. Anyway.
Yeah, like I just started listening to heaps of them, and I think one of them that really inspired me was Artie's one. When he first launched it, I got right into his one, and he only sort of did 6 or 7 episodes, and I sort of got to a point where I was waiting for his next one to drop all the time, and I was like, man, there's so much more space, and there's so much more, I guess, opportunity in the space to speak to more of the players. And I knew from my background probably like 50 guys that I thought had unreal stories that I'd love to, be able to put out on a platform. And I just got sick of guys, how they portrayed themselves to the media was so different to how I knew them. And I wanted to be able to give that insight as well. So that was sort of the theory behind it. And I felt like the first few managed to, get that personality out of guys, and the feedback on the first couple was good. So I guess it just gave me confidence to just keep going, and still going now.
Bloody oath, and you're absolutely crushing it. I want to ask you just a few things in regards to the history of the show. Firstly, what's the greatest moment, or I guess you could say, what's the best story, in your opinion, that any of the lads have said on the show?
Oh, I've had a couple of, I guess, Michael Fadialofa I had at the start of the year was a pretty incredible story, what he had to go through. Not often you talk to someone who's becomes a paraplegic from the neck down, or quadriplegic from the neck down. It was a pretty emotional listen, that one, and pretty heartfelt podcast. So that was one that stands out. That was probably the most recent. Yeah.
And what about your favourite guest? I mean, you probably just mentioned that, Michael Fatialofa, but is there anyone in particular that maybe just dropped some absolute zingers on you that was unexpected, or?
Oh, mate, there's been so many. Like, I think I'm up to almost 200 now.
Yeah.
All of the guests. I've never gone on one and just come off and thought, oh man, that was so shit. But thankfully that.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, you haven't listened to the PAC Rugby show then.
So you're not you're not going to be interviewing J-Ball.
Come on, mate.
But everyone's so unique, and there's always something out of the stories. Obviously, like Dane Coles early on was big for me. I felt like he really opened up and shared stories a lot of people probably wouldn't expect from an All Black great, and one that I always remember. So I felt like that one sort of kick-started the podcast a little bit, and from then, obviously, Bowden Barrett was the most popular. He's still the most popular ever, so everyone loves Bowden Barrett and Geordie Barrett. All the big dogs, they're still the ones who people listen to, but some of the lesser-known guys, like the Robbie Flynn, not many people would have listened to that, but he is a character, and he was one that if you do listen to it, you'll be surprised at some of his stories.
And I got to ask as well, just real quick, You've only had one Aussie on the show, Dave Parecki. What's doing? You need some more Aussies in there, mate.
Mate, I struggle to get Aussies on, don't I? I've had I've been in contact with James O'Connor. He's my next Aussie that is coming on. Obviously at the moment it's hard to sync a time. So post super season, at the moment I'm only able to really get Crusaders on because we've got the same time schedule. But yeah, once my time schedule starts opening up, hopefully the Aussie market is good to me because I'm due to get some Aussies on. And who do you reckon, guys? Who's the dream Aussie?
Oh, mate. Me personally, he's a sleeper, but Liam Wright from the Reds has some of the best banter going around. Mate, he is such a legend, and he is funny as hell, and just an awesome dude. Absolutely awesome dude. I would rate Wrongers up there.
Yeah, James Slipper as well.
Wrongers is on the list.
Yeah.
On the list.
Slips, I reckon he's got a good story to tell and been through a bit, but he never ends. He just keeps going, and he's doing a terrific job. So.
And he's in red-hot form, too.
Yeah.
Bloody oath.
Mate, Slipper is on the list. Mate, there's two.
Even Big Nella. When we had him on the show, he was just
mate.
He was just
He's
full
loose.
Nella.
Yeah.
That's the only way you could explain it.
Yeah.
He was a funny guy.
Oh, yeah, I would say those three, across those three, you're going to get some pretty good yarns. So I'd put them all up there. Bloody oath.
They're on. I don't know who Big Nella is, but he's on the list.
Teddy Alatupo.
Oh,
James, we do a fast five. So I'm gonna ask you 5 quick questions. All right, you can relate it to your coaching career or your playing career, whichever you want to do. First one is, if you could have any other athlete from any other sport in your starting 15, who would you have?
Oh, any other athlete from any other sport? Geez, that's a tough one to start. I'm going to go... who am I going to go? I'm thinking rugby league.
Yeah, interesting.
I'm thinking rugby league. I think it has to be. Otherwise, we've seen how hard it is to cross over to union. Even Roger couldn't do it. So that's saying something. He's one of the greats. So I was talking to Big Nelson Asafa Solomona the other day at Storm training, and he said he was pretty close to coming. I was hoping that was going to be the announcement, but I just saw today that he signed with the Storm for 4 more years. So that one didn't work. But he is a big man, eh? He's
got a big rugby history as well. Grew up playing rugby union as well. So
he would go well in the French comp. I'm just really struggling with this. I'm going to just go way out there now and just say Nathan Cleary.
There you go.
Ooh, I like that.
Oh, shit.
That's
That
a
would
good
be
one.
sick.
That's
He
really
actually
good.
grew up in New Zealand idolising Dan Carter. So
Yeah.
maybe you'll play for the Wallabies one day.
Or the Crusaders. Might be something in there.
Surely. Mate, Richie's gone next year. Cleary could be keen.
You heard it here first. PAC News.
Career highlight.
Career highlight. Probably winning Super Rugby. Followed closely behind winning the NPC with Taranaki. The year we were completely written off. That one was a bit more of a underdog story, but both were pretty special times for me.
Favorite teammate?
Oh, now that's tough. Conrad Smith was one who helped me up massively. He was such a good man to play with, on and off the field. He was one who sort of always would give me confidence in my ability when I doubted it, and he was just one of those guys who was so good to play with. His communication, his work rate, all those things. He was a true legend, that guy.
And let's flip it the other way. Least favorite.
Least favorite. Oh, jeez. Who am I going to throw under the bus here? Well, Dane Coles would always get into all sorts of niggle, but I could never call him my least favourite. Man, I love playing with. He'd be top 3 favourites, actually. Least favourite.
Maybe someone on the piss who was a pothole.
Oh, mate, there was heaps of those. I remember one good end of year do when me and Jeremy Thrush ended up having a bit of a biffo, but he was tough work at the cage.
He's about 8 foot tall. Yeah.
Yeah, mate, he would absolutely snot me. But him and my brother got along really well over at Gloucester, and then they became best mates, and me and Thrushy became best mates. So it was a true turnaround. Not that I ever disliked Thrushy, but on the field he was harder than it was quite tough work.
Yeah, okay. And then finally, mate, who's been the most influential person in your career?
That would be Andrew Goodman. He's coaching over in Leinster at the moment. Took me under his wing coming out of school. He was training for the Tasman Marco at the time, and he'd pick me up for training, take me to all his sessions. And just throughout my whole career has been a massive influence for me, even in the coaching circles. So he got me the role initially at Tasman, learnt heaps off him there. He left Crusaders, and he must have put in a good word for me here as well, because somehow I got the gig. And he's just been a massive influence on me all the way through, and still talk to him regularly. So, definitely him.
Outstanding.
Mate, I've got some viewer questions, but before we get to that, you played with or against or coached all of the Barrett boys. You got Scotty, Kane, Geordie, and Bowden. Who's the funniest? Who's the smartest? Who's the sexiest? And who's the worst? Come on, we got to be honest.
Clock's ticking.
Clock's ticking. Let's just first thing pops in your head.
The funniest,
Yep.
is gonna be Kane.
Yeah, there you go. Done.
Smartest would be Bodie.
Okay.
What's left?
Sexiest
and the worst.
And the worst.
So it's that moment's between Scotty and Geordie.
I think Geordie's probably the sexiest.
Oh, poor Scotty. Oh, well.
I've gone too early on Kane, haven't I?
Mate, you've locked it in, and that's all good, mate. A couple of these questions. This one is from Lynn Cars, mate. Who's on the list for? Who's on the top of the hit list for the What a Lad podcast? Who's on the top at the moment?
Oh, top. That has been accepted, or one that I'd just love to get, because I've been. Yeah. I've tried to reach for a few, and I haven't landed. I would have loved to have got Roger Tuivasa-Sheck on. I did ask him, but I did get denied. But it would have been cool to hear how he was finding. Firstly, why he wanted to come to rugby, and now, even better, why he's gone back, and how he found that whole transition, and what he struggled with, what he enjoyed. So, and especially the way the Warriors are going, what he's excited about next season with the Warriors.
Up the wires.
Up the wires.
Up the wires. Mate, New Zealand's strongest malcontent says, what's your max lifts in the gym, e.g. squat, bench, or deadlift?
The only one worth mentioning.
Oh, there we go.
Bench.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my bench was 152.5.
0.5.
Big.
Yeah, because it was the 2.5s.
Yeah.
Or the 1.25s.
Makes all the difference.
That was a lot more than my squat and my deadlift. So I spent a lot of the time on my back lifting, not so much squatting, because I obviously had stuffed hips throughout my whole career. So I try to avoid as much lower body lifting as possible. So
that's my excuse as well.
Jump in on the upper. Yeah,
it's always
a good excuse.
Yeah, oldest trick of the book.
It makes sense, mate. Blake M asks, who was the biggest class clown you have played with or coached?
Biggest class clown, the Tongan Bear.
Lonnie
Uhila. Lonnie Uhila.
I love it.
Absolute class clown. Very funny man. Mate, he's actually speaking of him, he's one I need to get on the podcast. I think
There we go.
he would be.
Put another one on the list. He's writing it down now. Mate,
Mate, my list is like 400 people.
I love it. Mate, Will Drury, this is the final one. Just a really quick one, top of your head. Who will be the new Crusaders coach? just casual.
It's not loaded at all.
Whatever you want to do, mate. Whoever's the most fit.
Tamati Allison.
Oh, shit, you reckon? Or it is?
Oh, no, I got no idea.
You better watch out there, James.
If I knew, I wouldn't have been saying it. That's for sure.
That's why I was like, he's pretty flippant with this.
He's actually
Alright,
answering.
cool.
Okay, all right.
No, I do think he'd be a perfect replacement if he's keen and if the Crusaders are keen. He's champion coach. He won the NPC with Wellington this year. Highly respected amongst the group, and I do always think it's best to have someone who's been in the group before. So if it's not him, it's me, and we move from there.
There we go.
Nice.
And finally, who's your rugby?
Rugby. Explain this one to me again.
Rugby, just a little highlight package we do every week. The player we love the most from the weekend just gone. Who's your rugby from the weekend just gone?
Oh, from the weekend just gone, it has to be David Havili, the one and only Crusaders second five. Look, 17 carries. Hey, look at this.
Freakish.
It's like you knew I was going to pick him.
We just happen to.
Yeah, we knew before you clearly did.
Zachy's very good.
Lucky I didn't change my answer.
Oh, mate, I was thinking that actually. I was like, oh shit, here we go. Lucky we're not live. But mate, he's been absolutely phenomenal this year. Notched up 100 games recently. He's the epitome of just perseverance, isn't he?
Yeah, and like he's only just come back. He missed half the season with a little shoulder, so he's played the last 2 games, and man, he's been a massive influence for us. He drives a lot of our gameplay. It's not just the stuff you see; it's the stuff he's talking about on the field, like his leadership, his communication, and the way he drives standards in our team is just world class. And I felt like we missed his voice there for a while when he wasn't there. So awesome to have him back there at 12, and it was awesome to see him drop back to fullback in the weekend too.
Yeah.
Just shows his versatility, which I think is going to be important for not just us, but the All Blacks going forward in the World Cup.
Bloody oath. Agreed, mate. Well, James, mate, thanks so much for taking the time to have a yarn to us, mate. It's been very insightful and pretty bloody funny, and it's been awesome to have you on and just run through everything from Waterlad all the way through to the Staters, mate. So thanks for your time, and all the best for the rest of the season, and all the best. Hopefully you can get some of the Aussie blokes on the potty.
Yeah, surely. But hey, thanks for having me on. It's I've been waiting for my opportunity to come on this podcast in Australasia. So
Hell yeah,
I'm grateful
bro.
to have that opportunity.
Bless you, brother. James Marshall, everybody.
James.
James Marshall. He's awesome. Absolutely killing it. Like the career he's had to transition into the media space.
What a humble man.
I know. He's like, that's
just
good. I wasn't really trying. I just
coach.
made the New Zealand under-20s camp, which was cool. I'm like,
I didn't
yeah,
really,
so you mean like top 40 players for your age group that year?
Didn't really see
Oh,
myself as
yeah,
a
I didn't really
professional.
see myself as being a good footy player. It's like, okay. Making us feel so bad about ourselves. All right, well, let's go straight into it then. A fair amount of news has come out over the last week that we'll just rip straight into. Big Fat Das, we'll start with this, right? Mariki Koroi-Bete becoming just the 6th Wallaby to win the John Eales medal on multiple occasions, and having done it last season off only 9 tests. Absolutely awesome.
Because it's Korobiti, mate. He just the impact he has for the Wallabies is just like knowing that he's back there, knowing the ball goes to him, and you're like, he's just going to start a Korobiting. And his the spring tour didn't count for him. Is that why he only got the 9?
It was 12 tests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He missed those. He missed 3 of them. I still have my gripe about how the ARU.
You mean announced 6 months later on Instagram?
It's like, I didn't know Wallabies played any games in the last 4 or 5 months. But mate, everything to him, mate. He's just a freak, and Can't wait for him to come back for the World Cup.
So well deserved, mate, and he's going to be absolutely awesome for it this year. And Dow, out of the Force game on the weekend just gone, awesome win over the Highlanders. But a minute in, we saw Ollie Callan, rising star in Aussie rugby at the moment, got that sickening neck injury, out of hospital, cleared of any serious neck injuries, but hopefully trying to come back sometime this season in Super Rugby. But good news all round.
Fantastic news. Obviously, you don't like to see that, and it's nice to see him back, and they are talking about him, coming back and playing Super Rugby this year. So hats off to him. It's never nice to see, but it's nice to see he's okay.
And speaking about coming back from injury, I'll get your thoughts on this as well, Dale. We saw Quade Cooper in camp last week. He was saying, yep, I'm scheduled to make my return from injury this weekend, and then ceremoniously took the field, kicked the ball off and was gone within the first minute, not through injury, but literally that was just I think it was to be eligible for finals or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, so he had to play one more game, and they've got a promotion relegation happening over the next couple of weeks, and that's basically 3 weeks away. So he's not quite ready, but by that point he will. So qualify him, get him ready to go, get him off the field as soon as possible.
No matter how you skin this cat, Das, it's awesome to see Quade Cooper back playing.
He didn't lie. He said he was going to be on the field, right? And
he said he was coming back from injury.
And he technically did.
He did exactly that.
Right? Oh, man. So you start seeing Quade lace up the boots. That's when you start getting excited, mate.
Oh, bloody oath.
Love seeing him on the field, mate.
I hope he's our 10 at the World Cup.
Hopefully,
I really do.
Hopefully he plays more minutes than he just did, but whatever.
Hopefully if we can get more than a minute out of him, that'd be great.
Cheeky 10, maybe.
And some weird news, Das. You actually brought this to all of our attention. We thought it might have been an April Fool's joke.
Did have to check the date.
Was the fact that the Wallabies have confirmed they will be wearing a white jersey in their pool match against Portugal at the upcoming Rugby World Cup, based on an edict coming down, I think, from World Rugby regarding being inclusive to people that are colourblind. Your thoughts?
Well, then you later added to it saying apparently the Saffers and the Kiwis said no. But the Wallabies said yes. I don't really understand the process too much about how the white and the gold. I then started trying to design my own jerseys for the hard of hearing, Dow. So what I've designed is it's just normal Wallaby jersey, but underneath the armpits is like ski jacket material. So it goes whoosh, 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 whoosh. So for the people that are hard of hearing, they can hear the players, right? You just close your eyes. And, and then for the people that are hard of sight, all the numbers will be braille. So that'll be a big effect. And then for the people that have a really bad at a sense of direction, it's also going to be the Aboriginal jersey. It's going to be it's called the Garmin jersey, and it'll be like a full Refidex on the front of it. So people that have no sense of and sense of smell, we just won't wash the Wallaby jerseys for a couple of weeks, and people will be able to smell the Wallabies out. So these are just some ideas that I put forward, and they were all rejected by the Saffers and the Kiwis, so maybe the Wallabies will take them up. I'm not too sure. We'll see.
Dallin's never been this close to your weirdness.
I like it.
Bring back the Battlers bench.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Put me back over there.
One last thing. Quirky will be back to light and low next week. One last thing, though, Dow. Peter V'landis, mate, going hard in the paint, ragging on the rugby, saying, rugby needs rugby league's notoriety just to get any publicity. Him and Hamish McLennan going back and forth. And Peter V'landis has come out and said that they're going to offer salary cap reprieve for clubs who sign rugby players.
Yeah, well, it started off as they're going to offer salary cap reprieve from signing overseas players. Anyone who kind of sits outside of Australia and New Zealand, overseas-based players, they'd offer that. But he's extended it now because of what's happened with rugby, and Joseph Suaalii over the last couple of weeks. It's now rugby players as well, so they've come into it. So, it's going to be interesting to see who gets over there and all of a sudden becomes a rugby league player.
I'm loving it, man.
It's great. It's terrific.
I
think it's outstanding.
Will this be used more as a like a bargaining chip for player managers? Like, do you think some people will be doing like a Quade Cooper thing? It's like if you play 1 minute in rugby union and then come back to league. Do you know what I mean? Like could you
or let like a junior sign with the Tars for 3 years, and then when they're 21 and up to the league standard. sign more.
Let's just pretend that you are a dodgy player manager. Let's just pretend, right? Use your imagination.
Yeah.
If you were to be dodgy, how would you do it? How are we going to do it? How are we going to get the most money for our boys?
How are you going to do it? How are we?
How are we? Sign me up. Yep.
I think you're thinking too far into it.
He's all over it. All right.
Good answer.
Okay.
All right, Big Fat Das. Anything from the Battlers bench this week, mate?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we do. I'm checking I actually went down to. I was going to do a burger review down at Jeeps. I went down there on Friday night, and I went and I did buy. I paid for my burger. They accepted my money, and actually, Zachy, I think I got a photo of the burger that I actually was given. I was only given my token. I went to claim my burger, and by the time I walked from paying for it at the canteen to the barbecue, they'd shut the roller door on me. So this is an indictment against. Look at that. The fact that I still have it in my pocket.
So did you get your money back?
No, they closed it. 0. Okay, I'm going to give zeros across the board. Burger, 0. Didn't get it. Right? The ambience, didn't get it. The beers, well, we did have a couple other games, so that wasn't too bad. I'll give that a 2. But the rest, 0. So that's the first ever, basically flat 0 burger review. TBC, I guess. So, quite disappointed. You know, how do you play a game of Friday Night Footy with no burger in your tummy? Right? You tell me that.
Did you win?
Yeah, 36-10.
Perfect.
So,
Smoked him. Love it.
You know, burger would have made it all delicious. Also, we ended up having I ended up finding a lookalike. J-Ball, who do you think this looks like up here in this? Who do you reckon that looks like?
Dallin.
Yeah, Sergio Ramos. He also.
I'll take that any day of the week.
Yeah, you will. Okay. He's
Better
also
than looking like a male Greta Thunberg or whatever Freeney threw me under the bus as.
He's also been known to have terrible haircuts, just like someone else I know. Yeah.
Yeah, happy days.
Well, you're happy with that? Classic Dal. I love it. Mate, also, with all the chat from Atco about the great revelation that there were cattle prods being used at the Wallabies camp. This is Atco here.
Any news coming out of that? How are people liking it? Is it flowing pretty well? What's up?
What's up?
He pulled out a cattle prod.
What?
Hey?
No. He did?
Yeah, like an electric cattle prod.
Love that.
Did he really?
I do love it.
Yeah.
So, as you heard before, I did love that. So what I thought I'd do is try to figure out what type of cattle prod / taser Eddie would have used or should use for the upcoming Wallaby. Well, let's just put on this sexy guy to tell us what it's all about.
Thanks, Big Fat Daz. Big Fat Daz here from the Battlers Bench, and we have the 8 best cattle prods on the open market available for Eddie Jones to use in the World Cup and the upcoming Wallaby camps. Coming in at number 8 with a bullet is the Miller SS36. Good on cows, may not be as good on props as he may hope. There's a couple of things about this one. It does have a detachable fiberglass rod. It makes a buzzing sound when active, so players will know when he's sneaking up behind. However, it would benefit from a holster. So Eddie may have to put it on the ground. He may see an issue, need it at hand. It's not there. He'll have to walk back and get it. That'll make him fuming. Coming in at number 7 is the Hot Shot Power Might. Interesting little blue number, right? We don't see many of these on the market. It's very good for short range. However, it was made in the United States, but a compatible holster is available, but the trigger is hard to press. So if Eddie is enraged and he needs to click it, he may fumble on it. That won't work. Coming in at number 6 is the 32 centimeter. Now, this orange and yellow number has an 8,000 volt output, has a rechargeable battery, and it is moisture resistant, which is great up in Townsville, bottom of a ruck, bottom of a scrum, in between the legs. Coming in at number 5 is the Hotshot HS2000. This is a sleek ribbed green member. Couple of things about this one. It's got sealed components to keep out debris, because a lot of debris comes flying when you start zapping. Wrist strap is included. However, the safety clip is awkward to use, so if Eddie's trying to put it in the top of his tracky dacks, we don't know what will happen. So that's unfortunately why I kept it down number 5. Number 4 is the MZA Orange. Now, if you notice, there's a couple of very unique features in the MZA Orange. The first one, it is available in 3 lengths, good for short guys like your halfbacks, up to your flankers, all the way up to the tippy top for your second rowers. Disassembles for easy carrying, and it has a grooved outer case, just for the grip, because Eddie's going to need it when he starts huffing. Coming in at number 3, unfortunately in bronze, is the Magrath 34-incher. If you notice where the trigger is down halfway down the casing, it's great. Very ergonomic. Shock is safe for small stock. Could be bigger. Made of high-impact plastic, non-slip textured grip. Ribbed for her pleasure. Meow. Number 2 is the Brad Thorn Waterproof. This is the one that Brad used to use on Big Nella. Coming in at silver, it's got a well-placed power switch, has detailed instruction manual included, and plastic cover protects the charging port from that debris that we did mention earlier. Coming in at number 1, I think we all knew it. Of course, it's the Miller DX36. You know, it's been top of its class for the last 10, 15 years, and you wonder why. It has the insulated handle, has an oversized trigger for easy to press, convenient snap-on power pack, comes in a backpack form, so Eddie can be driving the car, back of the bus, up in a plane, at training, at press conferences. He's always ready to go, and that, with a bullet, ladies and gentlemen, is the 8 best cattle prods for Eddie Jones to use in the open market.
Yes.
Battler's bench.
Bravo.
There you go.
Bravo.
That's your best.
I just hope Eddie uses
best
that.
so far.
Do with that information what you will, Eddie.
Brad Thorn Waterproof.
Well, you know, it's what Brad used to use, so
That's genius.
The Miller 36. Oh, we all knew it was going to be the Miller 36.
Of course, I think we all knew it was going to be the Miller DX36.
Your brain is so awesomely terrifying, man. How did you get the graphics like that?
Can Darcy be here? Can he be up with me all the time now?
Yeah.
Did you feel the heat coming off me?
Quirky can be right.
Quirky can be the battler.
Oh,
Yeah, why is it Quirky the battler?
Yeah.
Right?
He may well be now.
I think he is.
I think he will be. My throat is so sore.
I'm so
insane.
I'm so proud of you.
That was
so proud of
insane, man. All right, let's plough ahead. Let's just have a look forward to our red hot takes from this weekend. There's plenty of footy coming up this weekend, but let's just narrow it down to a couple red hot takes from the boys over here. Big Fat Das, starting with you. Your big red hot take for this weekend.
Sydney Uni to get flogged by the Wicks. I just don't think. I think Sydney Uni's coming off two losses in a row. They just weren't. They weren't up to it last week. I think the Wicks.
You think
give
the
them a
Wicks?
flogging, and I just know how much the Sydney Uni blokes will hate that. But yes, the flogging is they lose by more than 4. Right? What a flogging! If you go to Sydney Uni, that's a flogging.
Well, they got flogged by 2 Blues on the weekend. 17-point loss,
Boost.
I think it was.
They were boosted, mate. Yep. So
that.
red hot take.
Dow, your red hot take?
The Drua beat the Blues.
Ooh,
That's
at home?
massive.
Is this at home
They
again?
stay undefeated at home, and they beat the Blues.
That's absolutely huge if true.
It's true. Telling you.
You,
Okay, then.
you looked down the barrel of the camera and you did it. Oh my god, that was so good.
Oh, I thought you were saying do it now.
No.
Like, he's already done that, brother. Mate, that's absolutely huge if true, and I think both of those things could likely happen.
Yep.
All
Will
things
likely
considered.
happen.
Will likely happen. Now it's just time to round things out with our rugby for this week. Big Fat Das, starting with you. Your rugby goes to Bryce Hegarty.
Bryce Hegarty, mate. He just there it is, mate. He's just one of those. He's like my Hamish Stewart, right? You know what I mean? I just keep pushing it. Bryce Hegarty, like this was the player that the Reds used to count on so much. He's gone over to the Force, and I think this is the first game that he's really hit his straps. He had a couple. I think he was a little bit injured at the start of the year, but he's like, this shows the value of just a safe, like Mr. Everywhere kind of 10, and his goal kicking and conversions just kind of made me give him his rugby.
Bloody oath, mate. It's good to see him firing again.
Yeah.
4th Super Rugby club in Australia. So he's been everywhere and he's doing pretty bloody well. Dow, your rugby is young fella out of the Brethren, Tim Ryan.
Tim Ryan, one to watch. Currently a Australian under-20s camp, but some of the stuff he did on the weekend, obviously this try here, which was
After slipping over.
outstanding in itself, but this next try he scores was phenomenal. Beats one here, off the left foot again. Sharpens up here Jordan Luke, which is no mean feat, bang, off that right foot. And he's just so elusive. He's so young still, just 19 years of age, just doing a terrific job there on the flank for the Brethren.
Absolutely chopping up. I think brothers are going to go. It's brothers to lose this year, in my opinion. Yeah,
they're there, man.
And the players they're likely going to get back. It's going to be absolutely red hot. All right, well, that rounds out this week's episode of the PAC Rugby Show. Very much appreciate everybody tuning in as per usual. Dallin, so good to have you back.
Good to be back.
Battler's Bench.
Where's my couch?
It'll be back. Don't you worry. As I said, next week, Quirky's going to be joining us in studio. He'll probably be riding pine, at least for the early start, before he maybe gets a start. But you never know. You might stay up there full-time, Big Fat Dar. Sacky boy in the ones and twos, as per usual, absolutely crushing it. In the meantime, stay safe, enjoy your footy, and we'll see you next week. Ciao.